Sugar playtime. Press him.
My story begins in Taraz, Kazakhstan. This is Kazakhstan. You may know Kazakhstan from Borat, or you might know it from, well, there's nothing else really, that's it. When I was 2 years old, I was adopted from the Yemit baby house in Taraz and brought home to Longview, Texas. When in the orphanage, I suffered from different developmental delays due to the improper conditions in the orphanage. Because of this, after bringing me home, my parents made it their priority to give me the best opportunities to excel and help catch me up. Growing up, I moved around a lot due to my dad's job. But despite this, they always try to give me the best education or school system possible for whatever situation we were in. This effort transcended just one type of educational system, and by the time I was 16, I had been in 5 different schools featuring 5 separate educational systems before attending Episcopal. Now you might be wondering, how exactly does this affect all of you? Well, I wondered the same thing, frankly. And eventually I came to the conclusion. So in this thesis process, I decided to look back at these different schools and combine my experience with research to come up with a pros and cons list for each school. But before I can actually tell you this lesson, let me take you back in time. The first school I attended was a Montessori school for pre-K. Montessori schools can be either public or private, but all feature an emphasis on hands-on and individualized learning. Montessori schools also feature lesser restrictions on students and teachers to encourage an innate will to learn in the students. The Montessori school I attended placed an emphasis on discipline and responsibility. And it also built a foundation of curiosity and learning in me. Despite this, however, Montessori schools are not ideal for prolonged learning. We see this as Montessori schools are usually limited to elementary grade levels only. From kindergarten into 2nd grade, I attended public schools. Although I switched to a different public school for 2nd grade, these systems remained almost identical. The main common factor was that in both of these schools, I was in what's called a gifted program. Gifted programs are when students are taken out who are exhibiting higher capabilities or higher aptitudes for learning based on ability grouping. Gifted programs can have many different requirements or curriculums, but all try to give students a chance to express their curiosity and learn at their own pace. The way the gifted programs were set up in the schools that I attended was it's basically a time carved out each day that I would go to a different smaller class. And this time we would play 4-way chess or be given a simple research and write assignment. But despite their original goal, I never really felt academically challenged. Overall, public schools helped me learn how to socialize and put me on a higher academic track due to the gifted label, but it didn't really keep me engaged academically. For the first half of 3rd grade, yes, I was a cheerleader. I really can't believe it either. I attended a charter school. Charter schools are the same as public schools, except that they are privately managed. This private management allows for greater autonomy and independence from the state. Charter schools can have a variety of setups, looks, or rules, as long as the founders receive a charter or a written grant from the state approving their proposal of establishment. The charter school that I went to put an emphasis on responsibility and discipline, even having us do our own dishes every day after school. The charter school also allowed unique educational opportunities. For example, based on entry-level assessment, I was enrolled in both 3rd and 4th grade classes. This charter school then helped me stay on this high academic learning track, but were largely devoid of extracurriculars or a large diverse peer group due to the fact that it was a very small school. For the second half of third grade through 8th grade, I was homeschooled. I did online homeschooling to finish up third grade, but switched to book homeschooling from 4th until 8th grade. Homeschooling allowed for flexibility in both course setup and schedules. One year, I did 4th and 5th grade at one time, which is why I'm a senior and still 16. Very fun, 0 to 10 would recommend. And I also, one year, I did year-long schooling, which is basically you go to school for 6 weeks, and then you have a week off, and this cycle repeats, with your normal spring breaks and Christmas breaks, with your summer break only being shortened by about 2 weeks. So overall, homeschooling allowed me to take classes that I was more interested in because we had the freedom to pick the courses that we wanted, as long as you have your basic math, science, and so on. But it also fostered a sense of procrastination and a decreased sense of discipline due to the fact that I could easily move deadlines for petty reasons with little consequences other than a little extra work sometimes. This, of course, leads us to Episcopal. From 9th grade until now, I've attended this independent private school. This section posed challenging for me because it was hard for me to reflect on something so recent. How do I sum up my Episcopal experience when I'm not even done with it yet? Well, I came to the conclusion that's kept me academically challenged, has encouraged me to branch out in extracurriculars such as theater and mock trial, and it's given me a good launch pad for my future, especially regarding college. But of course, along with this has brought along intense feelings of stress and burnout along the way. So, finally, here I am standing in front of you, with all these educational experiences with me. Undoubtedly, the most important lesson I've learned throughout all this is the importance of self-reflection. This process started out with me looking into my adoption and my time in the orphanage. I looked at old files, and I talked to my parents about their time there. I even learned my own original name. Most people know that before they're 16, but hey, so what? And all the way until now, as a senior in high school. So, of course, through this, I had to look at many different aspects of my past, especially ones that I wasn't even writing about. For example, when coming up with a list of schools, I had to think about how moving around all the time affected me as a kid. And when talking about public schools specifically, I had to think about how being labeled gifted affected me. Namely, how it ingrained high expectations for myself until part of my identity eventually became linked to high grades or academic success. Realizing all of this felt almost like puzzle pieces clicking together. Suddenly, I had a better understanding of how and why I react to certain situations the way that I do. What I want you to take away from today is that understanding your past can better set you up for the future. Look at your past experiences, situations, and people that have been in your life and think about how they've affected you. Look at your own qualities and habits, good and bad, and take time to realize the root of those. Of course, I'm not saying to just sit alone in a dark room all the time and think about it. That's ridiculous. There's no right way to do this. All I'm saying is that having a better grasp on your past can better set you up to serve others, fight future obstacles, and overall live a better life. The future is scary and unpredictable, but perhaps some of this fear can be lifted if we can gain a sense of peace with where we've been, what we've done, and who we are. Thank you.